Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Sports Talk with Broads. A new edition here. We have D-Rey with us of the Stay Tuned Network. You can follow him on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all of it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Stay Tuned Network?
My man. Thank you for the introduction. The Stay Tuned Network is just a media production company. It was, my show, Stay Tuned with D-Rey. We did that and picked up some traction, got featured on NBC Sports Philly, featured on FS1. We were just like, yo, we have something. And I realized, our generation, especially, you got a bunch of young creatives that want a platform and want something to kind of build on. And it's like the ESPNs and the Fox of the world, no slight to them, but they are who they are. So I'm just trying to get like-minded people that, want to create things and help them kind of just bring their vision to life. And we got my show, Stay Tuned with D-Rey, Villanova podcast called The 440, show called Postgrads at the Platte with a young lady from St. Joe's, and me and her talk about more taboo topics in sports like sexuality and spirituality. And, obviously still talking to you, trying to, you know what I mean? I'm recruiting right now. So we're trying to get like-minded individuals, man, around me.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic idea, no doubt about it, and it is definitely going to take off. With that being said, are the Sixers going to take off? But before we get into that, I mean, we do need to say one thing here. I'm a big college basketball guy. You won a national championship at Villanova. I need to know what that was like. I mean, listen, I always dreamed about I knew if I played hoops, I'd be a bench guy. I knew it. I know that's my role. But I always had this dream of coming out the tunnel, 20,000 fans, right? And I just want the starting lineup handshake. That's all I wanted. I wanted a six-star, do something sick, jump up into someone, spotlight on you. Oh, that gets me fired up. But I need to know what that experience was like winning a national championship.
It was surreal. It was surreal. Because we had never talked about it. I don't know if you heard that before. People were like, man, get the out of here. Like, y'all talked about it. But it's like we genuinely had never talked about that. It wasn't until we got past Iowa that year that we were like, oh shit, we could win. You know what I mean? But when it happened, for it to happen, with the buzzer beater and that confetti and the fireworks going off, everything like that, there was a moment of oh shit. And it wasn't so much. First of all, hold on. Can I curse?
Yes.
Okay. Oh shit. I'm sorry. I realized I did it twice. But there was a moment of oh shit, this is real. And then once we stormed the court, it was oh my God, they're not going to review it. I think life afterwards is what was the weirdest. It wasn't so much of that actual day, because that actual day felt I hate to say it, another game. Obviously, outside of the fact that we're playing in the football arena, that felt oh, it's just another game. We're just trying to win. But afterwards, everything kind of changed, and it was fun. Sometimes it was terrible in others, but I wish I'd have been a senior that year, man. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, that whole game was nuts. I mean, the back and forth at the end where UNC hits the clutch shot, he double clutches it in the air, and he ends up making it. And I mean, I remember I have no ties to college sports because I never went to the Temple or the St. Joe's. I don't have any passion for a Big Five team, but I enjoy Big Five basketball. And I just root for anyone. If Temple's in the tournament, I want them to win. If Villanova's in, I want them to win. I just want anyone in the area to succeed. So I remember jumping up and down. I was screaming, going crazy. But I was thinking to myself, why am I doing this? I don't have any tie. But it was just really cool to see. But then you have the people say, well, that's not really a Philadelphia school. And I'm like, oh, well, don't do this. Don't do this to me.
It's funny. You talk about the area. We played Iowa. The team that played Iowa before we did was Temple. And everybody was asking about Temple before we even got to him. And you don't know how many people were rooting yo, I really hope Temple sees Villanova in Brooklyn and Temple takes them out. I get the slack that comes from they're not a Philadelphia school. We are technically right outside of the city, but come on.
No, see, I think it's crap because, for example, when I played college hockey, I'd have friends from Minnesota and all these places. I would say I'm from the Philadelphia area. It's not I'm from South Jersey. The Villanova is in the Philadelphia area. I would say I'm from the Philadelphia area, even though I'm a South Jersey kid. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
I get it. I don't like it, but it's the people who do. What kills me is when we came back, it was, y'all did that for the city, man. That was cool for the city. And it's you was the same dude. But it's all love now. I kind of like not playing in it because once you're not in it, it feels so much easier to just root for everybody. Like you said, for me, I'm at a point. Obviously, I want Villanova to do good, but I'm at a point where it's like if Temple's crushing it, if LaSalle's crushing it, if Big Five basketball is let me say this: if City Six basketball is doing their thing, I'm for it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, so I definitely want to touch Sixers, but before we do that, this Villanova thing's got me so interested. I just need to know a little bit about Jay Wright. I mean, what is Jay Wright like in the locker room, in practice? He just seems like such a great dude.
Okay, so Coach Wright is like cool as he comes off. I will give him that, but he is intense. He is intense. Like people think, like I remember, like people ask us questions like, he doesn't ever seem to yell at you guys. Like he seems to talk real nice, and you guys just listen. And I was like,
nah, it's not how it is, huh?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Like, if you would have believed that, you can. But it's not. It's obviously it's not for nothing. You know what I mean? Like, he knows what he's doing, but he's a cool dude. I went and played for him because he really understands life outside the game. He really understands like life outside. And so I wanted to play somebody, who understood, like, all right, this ball stops bouncing after a while. What's going to happen afterwards? He does a great job with that. I will say it was weird, though, is last year when I was on his coaching staff, like, I realized he had a sense of humor, which is something as a player I was not familiar with. So he would, like, crack jokes with, like, a straight stoic face, and, like, everybody else would be laughing. I'm, like, looking around scared shit, like, thinking it's a test or something. So he has a bit of a sense of humor, too, but he's an intense coach. But, like, you got it. And that's how you do it.
No doubt. I can't imagine him wearing anything other than a beautiful suit. Like, I can't imagine him just wearing normal clothes.
No, he shows up in sweat. Like, he'll be in practice like in the same gear that we get. Like, he'll be in there in sweats. He'll have like a pair of like Kobe's or KD's on or something like that. Like, he's chill. Like, he's not as like as zipping up as everybody thinks he is.
Right.
Outside of his craft.
Yeah. No doubt about it. That's awesome. All right. So 76ers, because this is a very weird time. We went into this year thinking, all right, let's go NBA Finals. It has not looked that way. Yeah. So I'll start with this question. Mm-hmm. If the season ended, no, we're going a different direction.
Okay.
My theory in NBA basketball is the coach does not hold that much value compared to the players. Like, you look at these players in the NBA Finals, it is all about the talent on the team. LeBron, is Ty Lue that great of a coach? I mean, come on. He's not a head coach right now for a reason. So I want your perspective, a player's perspective, on what does the coach in the NBA do compared to the players. I'm not saying they don't have any value. You need someone to draw up a play late, absolutely. But what is the percentage, you'd say, in the NBA when it comes to players and coach?
It's so slighted. And it's so funny because it's such a flip from college. And college where you have like the coaches are like in full control. Like you look at what Billy Donovan did. Like he didn't go to OKC until he had like a GM type position. To me, the ratio of control when it comes to coaching players in the NBA is criminal. And it's a shame because a lot of coaches are fall. I know this is the most popular opinion because obviously everybody in Philly is like Brett Brown. But like I always break it down to the same analogy. You give one guy $100, you give the other guy $5. And then you tell both of them right in front of each other, the guy who has $5, you're in charge. Like, it's kind of difficult to rally, and you got to really – and then you add in the fact that most of the time they're dealing with kids, who are kids. Like, you're dealing with, a Jahlil Okafor who gets caught at a bar before he's even legal, and it's like, you're Jahlil Okafor. You can't get away with that. You know what I mean? Like, you're dealing with those type of situations. So, to me, like, the coach to player control ratio in NBA is – It's laughable. I'm with you on this.
Okay, yeah, no, I know. And it doesn't mean that they don't have any sort of power because
they have value.
Exactly.
They're not power.
Right. Because normally when I say that, the answer is, well, what's the point of even having a coach? And I'm like, sometimes I agree with you. What is the point of having a coach in the NBA?
Yeah. Unless, if you got LeBron, it's like you don't. You know what I mean? Like I get it. And obviously you have the Greg Popoviches, the Billy Donovans of the world, Doc Rivers. You have coaches that like have made it, but it's Eric Spoelstra's another one. But it's so weird. Like you really can't pinpoint. It feels like until they win, they're almost not respected. You know what I mean? You really can't pinpoint what it is that separates those coaches from the guys who, are like Ty Lue. And no offense, Ty Lue's a great coach. He was a great player, but it's definitely it's night and day.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I feel like I'm going to be hypocritical here because with my next statement, I'm going to say I do think if the NBA season ends this year and there's no more playoffs,
Don't say it.
yeah, Brett, I think, but it's not due to anything other than there needs to be like a new voice. He's been here for 7 years, and I just think the message is running dry. It doesn't have to do with Brett Brown being a bad coach. I just think it just needs a new look. The team needs a new look. I think philosophy-wise, I'm not a huge fan of the pick-and-roll defense. It feels like it gets picked apart. And then offensively, I don't think they run enough pick-and-roll offense. So I just feel like there's a little things here and there that I would like to look at with Brett and say maybe we need to move on and make some adjustments when it comes to the philosophy. What do you think about that?
I think if you are going to get rid of him, I'm sorry, I love Brett Brown. At the end of the day, he saw this through the process. I think there's something to be said. And obviously, the NBA is different. I think there's something to be said about loyalty and the fact that, like, you know, he came in when this was like slumming. And obviously, like, you do have a point. Like, maybe it's time. Maybe that was his role. You know, he got us through the process and now we're on the other side. But to me, if you're going to replace him, it needs to be with somebody who, like I said, like an Eric Spoelstra, like a Greg Popovich. Obviously, you're not going to get those guys from their teams, but it has to be somebody of that caliber. To bring in just any old body like the Cavaliers and the David Black type situation, it doesn't really seem to fit because you don't have a LeBron. You know what I mean? Like, Joel Embiid is obviously the leader. Ben Simmons is the leader of his own respect, but you don't have that much player maturity and experience to where, like, now Jimmy Butler was on this team still, I would say go and get whoever. You know what I mean? Go and get whoever looks good in the suit, who gonna let these guys do what they do. But to me, I'm not for getting rid of Brett Brown because I don't think people understand how deep-rooted the problem really is. And when I say problem, it's a good problem to have. We're dealing with experience. Like, at the end of the day, you have two guys who are really, like, just rounding out their third and fourth year really playing in a conference that, quite frankly, has been sick of getting ran over by LeBron. So when you go up against the Raptors last year, you're not dealing with, a Raptors team that wants to make it to the finals. You're dealing with a Raptors team that's seen LeBron at a certain point for the last 6-7 years. And now that he's on the other side of the country, oh, yes, this is our time.
And
you know what I mean?
And you add Kawhi.
Exactly. And you're dealing with the Lone Ranger and Kawhi, who's just going to do whatever he wants and get out of town. Like, when you're dealing with the Milwaukee Bucks, you're not dealing with a young and hungry team that's just up and rising. No, they're up and coming because they've been right there for so long. They kept running into him. Like, LeBron really is the Jordan of this era in the sense that there's a lot of guys who don't have rings or don't have what they quote unquote should because of his ring. You know what I mean? So, like, you're dealing with a problem of experience and just, quite frankly, just getting your ass kicked a little bit. Like, nobody wins until that happens. And I think that's what's going on with the Sixers.
No, I love that. I love that answer. It's something that I always claim with this league is you look at when stars bring you championships with as the guy. It's 27 to 33-ish. It's just a grown man's league. That's what it is. So when Kawhi brings the Raptors and leads them to the championship, he's 27 years old. Like, when you look at LeBron, 27, Steph Curry, 27. You can be younger. Like, Kawhi Leonard won younger, but he had Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Ginobili, the Hall of Fame crew. So when you are the guy, you're in that range. The problem is we went from the process to let's go win a championship.
Exactly. There was no in between. It was like we said once we made out the process, like people don't realize, like, we're still in the process. Like, people thought the process was just making it out of the dog days of 2012, 2013 when it was, you know what I mean, when it was rough for the Sixers, as opposed to no, the process is like seeing this all the way through. And I would love to see Brett Brown on the sidelines for that. But
now, do you yell at Elton Brand for maybe, because if I agree with you, I think we maybe rushed the process a bit, but I think his moves maybe force the Sixers to rush it a bit as well. Now, I like in a vacuum, I actually like all of Elton Brand's moves. Like, the theory behind them were logical. I thought getting Jimmy Butler for Robert Covington and Dario Saric, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Going after and getting Tobias Harris at the deadline for Landry Shamet. I mean, I'm all in on that. That's a fine move. Yeah. Even Al Horford, like, it hasn't worked out, but when you break down the logical move of, or just the mindset of, is this logical at the time? We have no one who can back up Joel Embiid. When he left the floor in the playoffs the year before, they were like minus $6 million. So you go out and get an Al Horford, who is a veteran, great player, IQ, but it's not working out. But like at the time, the move made sense. So do you look at Elton Brand though and say maybe he's a reason why the process got rushed?
Okay, I do think you're right in that. I do think that, well, if whoever says that, they're right in that. Like the moves he made kind of made people feel like it was going to be expedited. And we're already in a time where people feel like things should be quick, and in the NBA, obviously, you're giving somebody that much money, you expect results immediately. The only questionable move that I have by him was not so much of getting Al Horford, it was how much we gave. It was how much we paid Al Horford. And I seen the joke before, they was like, y'all gonna get mad at him for paying a younger him that much money. And he was like, I can kind of see that. But outside of that, I love every move he made. I think that either it's going to be one of two things. Either he's going to prove to be a genius in the sense of the pendulum of small ball to you need bigs is going to swing back towards you need a bunch of bigs. And he went and got them before everybody jumped on that train, and we're going to be the next Golden State Warriors. Or on the other side of it, yeah, exactly. It's a hot take. A lot of things got to go right for that. But people said the same thing when you look out there, like in 2012 or 13, when you look at the Warriors lineup and what it was shaping up to be, it's like, I don't see how this is going to work.
Right.
With, 3 guys in the starting lineup only being 6'5" and under. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, this is a dynasty. So either he was ahead of the curve in that, or he was vastly wrong in getting Al Horford. And to me, no other move is questionable. Tobias Harris, like you said, all-around guy, can get a shot whenever he wants to, can create his own shot, which as much as I love Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, there's something to be said about getting your own shot and being able to ISO a guy. Jimmy Butler, obviously, that was just a mucky situation in general, so I can't really blame him for that. But like I said, the Al Horford having that much money, he doesn't seem – the Sixers seem to be an up-and-down team to me. They do best in transition because one of your best players is good in transition. Ben Simmons, we all give him crap for his half-court game. And to get somebody's Al Horford that kind of slows things down, maybe that does change the pace, for parts of the game, but I don't think that guy should be one of the guys if that's his role.
Well, also, you talk about slowing down the game. That's what the playoffs are. So, I mean, we're talking about games in November and stuff where, hey, there's no defense. It's up and down. You're not going to get that in the postseason. So, slowing down the game might actually – I know everyone talked about this being a playoff team, but no one can see it during the regular season. Maybe that is the truth, though, when the game slows down that much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. And I will say this. The other thing that I realized that, when you see them play, one of the biggest parts of getting Al Horford was getting the one person that could stop Joel Embiid off the Celtics.
Right.
It was very much I'd rather be with you than against you type of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I guess I'm just I'm not trying to make, I don't think this team has it this year. They don't have that it factor, but I don't think they're screwed as a roster. For example, last year, the Boston Celtics looked miserable. Questions about Brad Stevens. Can he keep the locker room right? And then now this year, they're at the top of the league again after making one move. So just because it looks so ugly right now, I'm not trying to make it seem like they're great this season because they haven't been. At the same time, they're not set up for failure forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the Sixers will be just fine. I don't think it's this year. I don't think this year's going to be anybody's year. I'm not going to say I can't see the NBA coming back. I really hope they do. But it's going to be interesting if and when they do, because it's all right, now we really have to figure out what's going to happen now. I don't know, man. I didn't play in the NBA. You know what I mean? I did the summer league thing. That's the closest I got to it. But there's something to be said about patience. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen overnight. People talk about, this guy having that and this guy's legacy and that guy's legacy. When did Jordan win his first ring? You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure it's around the 26, 27 range. And you're talking about a guy who's the staple of the damn game. You know what I mean? Kobe, yes, he won when, him and Shaq, but that was just out of nowhere. For people to expect these young guys to get it right now,
you got to go through the learning experience. But you did mention Tobias Harris. Now, his contract's hefty, but I always feel like when first off, he averages 20 points per game, and it just goes unnoticed. I understand he shoots a lot. He shoots a lot, though. He's a high volume shooter for those 20 points. But when you have a Ben and Joel, it's just, you can look around the league. Chris Middleton, he's a max player contract guy, but he's not a max player guy. When you have two guys who are like Ben and Joel, you are allowed to go out and overpay for a third guy who's going to give you 20 a night.
Yes, yeah, and that was his job. His job was like, listen, we need a guy who's going to score and can play some somewhat good defense, and he's doing a great job of that. It's like you're right. Like he does have a quiet 20 point going into the season. I was like, I'm expecting 16, 17, 18 points a night from Tobias Harris. Obviously, he topped like right around that, but I just don't. I don't get what all the panic's about. I don't, because it's like every year we freak out about the same stuff, and then we get to the playoffs, and it's like, oh god, we're actually okay.
I think it might be that and this is obvious, he doesn't have that killer instinct. Like if he shoots 1 for 9, and it's just like a bad night for him. And even if it's late in games, like he doesn't have that killer mind. So people look at him as like a soft player.
Okay, all right, I get that. But this is my attitude for that. If you have Joel Embiid was supposed to be that, and Ben Simmons was supposed to be that, and him was supposed to be that, who is really that guy?
Right.
I have a question for you. Who would you bring outside of Jimmy Butler? Who would you bring into this team? Because to me, that's what they're missing. Somebody either with that or somebody who's just like even kill. For me, I said I would love to see an Eric Bledsoe on this team. I would love to see a veteran guy who could get Ben Simmons off the point, but can make a consistent three, play some defense, and has that dog-like mentality. Like, who is one player for you to be like, if we added him, we'd be good?
No, I mean, that's a really good, because that's not like, I mean, it would be hard because he's on the Bucks, so like they're not really going to give him up.
No, that's not going to happen.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
But I would hate to make this the answer, but I really feel like this is the way it needs to be for this team to win. It needs to be Ben Simmons. I mean, you talk about like one guy who needs that dog attitude. I know that's not acquiring somebody, but you mentioned like who needs to have that dog mentality and bring in. I mean, I think Ben Simmons needs to have that dog mentality, and that's when this team will really flare. She's got the ball in his hands all the time. Like for him, I know he can go downhill and take it hard to the rack, but then when I see these games where he doesn't, it blows my mind. Like, dude, if I could do that, you saw my video I posted on Twitter in my driveway. I mean, if I could do what you could do, oh my God, it would be something else. I don't get it.
He definitely, once he turns the corner, things are going to change. And it's going to be interesting to see if or when he does get that, like what does it? You know what I mean? Because it was the same thing people said about LeBron in his career. Like he shows these flashes, and then it was around the time he got to Miami, you could see like something in him just got fed up. Like something in him was like, I'm tired of just being good enough. Like I need to just turn on that extra. And then obviously when players like that do it, like watch out. You know what I mean? So if and when he does get that, I think that's when they'll take off. But I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, it might take him getting his ass kicked a little bit to be like, oh, I do have to step it up a bit. But yeah, I like that.
I think you're onto something with the point guard thing, though. Like it is clear. And to me, Ben Simmons is a point guard. Like, I don't like this whole narrative of, like, he's not a point guard. His best attributes is having, like, the facilitating of his game. It's amazing.
Yes.
But there is something to be said about how good he is. And this just shows how versatile he is, though. How good he is as, like, a screener rolling to the basket.
Yes. Yeah. He, to me, like him, if you brought in somebody for stretches of the game that would get him off the point, they would turn him into that guy you could throw a lob up to, turn him into that guy that is either going after the first rebound and pushing out of the way so he gets his transition points, or if he doesn't get it, he's getting up the floor for a lob or, you know, a quick up screen or something like that to get somebody a shot or him rolling to the basket. Like just changing. I think there's something to be said about changing the look of someone's game. Like people look at these players and they think that their game is like one gear. Like the Warriors, people don't, like you watch like Steph Curry and you watch the Warriors play, like some of their best stretches of the game are in that like end of the second quarter, beginning of the third quarter, when he's kind of resting and he turns into a screener and everybody else is moving. So now when the fourth quarter comes back around and he's taking his shots, he's coming off of staggers. Now whoever's defending him is so flustered because like you don't know what he's going to do. I think there's something to be said about mixing it up for a guy. Like that's what Joel Embiid does almost too much on the outside, but it's like for him to be able to go on the inside and get a point or to catch the ball at the elbow and score a basket and then hit a three, it's like that constant going back and forth. As a defender, you're like, fuck. You know what I mean? You get tired of chasing them. And I think a point guard who could shoot, who could get Ben Simmons in that role just for stretches of the game, it'll make him down the stretch that much more lethal.
I can't believe this is the first time just defense was brought up. Ben Simmons and that defense It is unbelievable to me. Now, I live and die off of D. I told you this before the first day I met you. I take charges at LA Fitness, and I even call them blocks. Like, I'm an asshole, but I love defense. It is beautiful.
Yes.
And this guy, he plays 40 minutes a night, and he's giving you full effort on D and then exploding on offense at the same time. And it's like the D doesn't even get, because everyone wants him to shoot, which I do think he needs to do, but you don't even appreciate the 1 through 5 of the defending.
Yeah, man. It doesn't make, it's like he's so good at so many things. It's almost like, let's focus on the one thing he's not.
But let's trade him.
Yeah, exactly. Let's trade him for the one thing he's not. Like, look at how much you're getting. Like, let's be honest. We all knew it. We lost JJ Redick. It hurt because of, on paper, how many threes you're missing for a game, right? But when you look at it, if he's giving you 15 points, you know what I mean, on a good day, maybe, 20, 25, and he's giving up 20 because he can't stick an orange cone, it's like, is that really good? Like, to me, it's the opposite of Ben Simmons. Like, all right, he's going to catch the ball outside. Everybody's going to boo because he didn't shoot a 3. Cool. But it's like, he's going to go down the other side of the floor. He's going to get a steal. He doesn't really take charges. He's going to get a block every now and then. And then he's going to get the ball, rebound, and push it in transition. And then the next play, he's going to set somebody up to get a lob or a 3. It's just like, look at how much you really have. I'm a huge fan of Ben Simmons.
Me too. He's frustrating though. I mean, it's not like he's not frustrating, but part of the reason why they don't run enough pick and roll offense is because you do a pick and roll with Ben Simmons, your point guard. Well, what's the defender going to do? He's going to stay with the big man and force Ben to shoot, and he won't shoot it.
It's frustrating because we've seen it.
Right.
We know he can. And at this point, the question is, why won't you? Like,
yeah, exactly.
When he hit that 3 in the beginning of the year, it was just like, everybody. That's the beauty of, like, it. That's the beauty of us Philly fans. Like, oh, mail it in. I'm getting a finals trophy tattoo right now. It's over. Like, everybody was like, he has arrived. The Sixers are going to win the next 10 championships. We're about to be the UCLA of the NBA. And then he doesn't shoot again, and then we're like, get him the fuck out of here. Like, it's hot and cold. But
now, speaking of tattoos, we'll end it on this. Do you have a Villanova national championship tattoo?
Hell no.
No, you didn't go that way?
Hell no, but I will tell you this. There are several teammates of mine who do. And it's a tattoo. It's a silhouette of Texas with a V in it right by Houston. And it's on the ass.
I figured that's where that's what the most people do. They get the natty ship tat on the ass.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's as far as I take it. I don't have any of those. I love Villanova. I got the shirt on right now, but I ain't getting no tattoos. I'm sorry.
All right, listen. I mean, that's something you won't forget. Do you ever watch the game over and over again, or yeah?
Yes, I'm ashamed to say.
Yeah, I watched the Super Bowl like I'm part of it. You know what I mean? All right. Well, with that being said, I want to thank D-Rey for coming on. Make sure you check out the Stay Tuned Network on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. All of the social media is out there, and we are definitely going to do this again because I love talking hoops, so we will do this again.
My man. Thank you for having me on, bro. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.